Hey guys, welcome back to the Vincent Garage. Today we're working on the 1932 Aston Martin LM8 CycleKart. In part 1 we did the body side panels. In today's video we're going to tackle the cowl, the steering wheel mount, and the front panels, if I can get that far. Anyway, let's see how it goes. Okay, so yesterday afternoon after work I got this steering wheel in the mail, and it came with my Eastwood. This came from Eastwood. It's a LeCara steering wheel. Came with that neat mount. Quick release. So I've got to weld the quick release tab onto the steering column, so that positions that finally, because right now it's just floating around so much. And I used the steering wheel as a template to build this piece. I just bent it on this Harbor Freight tubing bender, and that worked out pretty good. I think that's going to have a nice shape. Now, that's the second design. Originally I had it curving basically from here to here all the way over there, and I thought that was going to look too massive, and I think it did. I think this is going to be better. This is basically going to curve down and end right about here and create that little scallop effect that's on the original. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. So the original has, if you can see it in the photograph, right behind the windscreen, those little humps. Of course, this is only going to have one. And if you look at the dash, we're trying to capture the design of this dash as close as we can. So it's going to have a couple inches past the dash area. We'll have the big speedometer right in the center. And that's why that four-spoke steering wheel was so important to get that look. And so I went through a couple different iterations on the way I built this. First I started off with this shape here, this outside edge, and I decided that didn't look right, so I laid the steering wheel on it and drew this out, and I decided, well, that might work, and I transferred it over to a different template here, and then I made a piece to fit this. And so that seems to work pretty good. And so that kind of gave me an idea where the dash was at. The other thing I did, and it's a little hard to see maybe because I got the body panels in the way, but I relocated this. I cut this loose. It was mounted here. I moved it back basically an inch because I didn't have enough clearance between the steering wheel and where the dash was going to be. This 34-inch steering shaft is just maybe 2 inches too short. So if I had it to do again, I would maybe get a 36-inch steering shaft, but that's the longest one they sold, other than maybe buying just a solid piece of steel to get a little bit longer. But I can adjust a little bit of dimension where I weld this. So there's a little bit of room there. It fits best if it's down on top of those, past those little notches on the steering column. It wants to fit a little tighter right about there. So that's probably where I'm going to weld it. So I'll take this apart and get that welded now so I can get the steering wheel on and off a little easier without too much drama. And yeah, so the next thing is to make some templates for this area and then start working on this piece. So making some progress. Okay, so we got the first piece of aluminum cut for the cowl, and I've got a notch to go around the framing here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the outside here on 1-inch increments to get this curve to curve around that shape there. So that'll be the next thing. I'll put some marks on here that'll help me on the wheel to make sure we get that straight. So that's next. Okay, so I've got the lines marked on it, and there's sort of an angle because the nose of this thing kind of decreases as it goes forward. Got it notched around the circular part of the dash hoop here. So these lines are going to guide me on the English wheel. So let me show you the English wheel set up here. This is a Harbor Freight English wheel. I've got a 3-inch die at the bottom and a rubber band on the top, and that'll help it to not get it's only going to curve it side to side. It's not going to give it a crown. And I found the 3-inch wheel because I have this nice gauge. I think I might have shown you this in the other video. And you put this on your curves, for example, and it shows you this is a 3-inch diameter, or very close to 3-inch diameter radius. So let's get started. Alright, so let's get started on this. We're going to use light pressure, not much pressure at all. I'm just going to run right across those lines. Going all the way off the material. It might be too light. Let's see. Hitting over there. gotta sneak up on the pressure a little bit. See it start taking shape. A little bit of shape already. Keep on going. Okay, so I took it over to the car and I found I need to get more curve even out here, so I'm going to start rolling out here as well. A little past my lines, but that's okay. That's what it's for. Check it again. Okay, we're getting there. Good shape now. Stuff's thin enough you can pretty much bend it by hand too. Right over your leg. Okay, so it took 13.5 minutes to form that sheet. That fits pretty good. It's not riveted down or anything yet, but it'll take that shape pretty well. This is 40 thousandths thick, 3003 grade. It's got to be trimmed around the edges, of course. But you can see this just lays right down pretty simply. I could get a little more shape in there and make it lay perfect, but once you rivet it in place, it'll hold its shape. So yeah, about 13 minutes of working on the wheel, and that's done. So next piece will be this piece right here. So this is going to be trimmed to fit all around it, and trimmed. A lot of this is going to get trimmed away when the side panels go back on. So yeah, that's good progress. Okay, so I got the cowl mocked up. I put the side panels on. I put a little curve in them as well, so that fits. It's just loose on there right now. And then I drew on there about where I think this little shroud will go. And I made a small template out of that right here. And I transferred that onto a piece of aluminum, cut it out, and I marked it at the center line. And at every inch I put a line, I kind of decreasing because this is going to shrink down this direction. And I marked the outline of where the mounting point would be, so I'm not going to try to put any hammer blows out in that area. That'll get turned over to make a flange to rivet it to the thing. So I'm going to use my shrinking stump, the sandbag, and the English wheel. So let's get rolling. Alright, so I'm not sure if it was recording when I was doing the hammering, but I hammered this whole thing to raise this area and shrink this area here, create that little bit of a slope there. And now I'm going to come along and turn the edge about 1 inch in to create a flange to mount it. And we'll trim this thing up to make it perfect. I'm going to turn off the swamp cooler. So what I do is I take a crescent wrench and I start around the edges, slowly tip this up all the way around this thing. So I'm going to go all the way around it. And this is going to create that flange. So I'm going to turn the AC back on so I don't sweat to death and do that right now. Okay, so after I put that little curve on there, I find I have to shrink this area more to get this to lay down. So I'm going to use my shrinker stretcher to do that. Okay, I think I'm kind of liking that. Going to trim it back a little bit more here in a bit. It's a little too far over the steering wheel, so we're going to trim this back. But this is going to get a rolled edge, so that'll take care of some of that. Fits pretty good. I'm going to clamp it down to kind of hold it in place. But a little tension there, but that works pretty good. I trimmed this up a little bit so it's a little smaller. This little area where we're going to rivet this. It turned out pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and drill some holes and start screwing that down. And yeah, I'm liking it. Okay, so today's September 11th, 2021. Spent all day in the garage building these two pieces here. Decided this was way too big. Having trouble seeing over it. So we lowered this about 2 inches. I rebuilt this piece with a smaller one that's got less of a profile on it. And I had to remake the scuttle part. And gave myself a little more room, so it's going to fit a little bit better. So, you know, the lesson here is the first time you build something doesn't always come out perfect. And you might have to remake a part or two. So that's the case here. This isn't 100% down. I've got to get some 1/8 inch wire rod. I'm going to put a wire rod around this edge and fold this over, strengthen that so it's nice and tight. This little piece is going to get cut out, and then we're going to make our dash. So, but we'll call that the end of this video, video number 2 of the Aston Martin body build series. So we'll have more to come pretty soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.